hereby given that the Bolton Zone Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Thursday, April 15, 2021 at 6 p.m. via Zoom video conference of Communications Inc. Zoom to hear and act upon the application of Jessica and Robert Gallagher. The applicant seeks a variance for the installation of a pool and construction of a 12 by 16 foot shed at 11 Cider Circle in Bolton's residential zoning district identified on assessors map 2D as parcel 105. The applicant seeks partial relief from the side yard and rear yard setbacks pursuant to sections 250-13B of the Code of Town of Bolton. So we'll let the applicant, if you could bring up the actual application on the screen, and then we'll have the applicant, address.
They just signed in. So.
Yeah, hi, sorry, I'm late.
Oh,
I'm here now.
Okay. So how do we handle that ballot? If Kay's an actual voting member and we've designated Gabriella, does Kay just have to sit out, or do we stick with the actual voting member start?
I think that because we haven't started yet, I think it's fine to do whichever you prefer.
Okay. So why don't we stay with the 5 actual voting members, and then it'll be a good learning curve for Gabriella to experience the meeting, and then we'll be ready for the next time. Okay, thanks. Okay, so will the applicant walk through the application?
I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi is spotty. I missed the last part.
Oh, so normally we have the applicant walk through the application and address the issues for the variance. Like there's the 4 hurdles to get a variance, and you wrote them up in the application. But for any people that haven't had a chance to read the application, or we ask that you walk us through it.
Sure. Am I supposed to be able to move through the document?
Well, we can. We'll move through to the first page where we get through the here we go. Right. So description of the problem, the applicant, then we'll walk through the sections as you need to.
Sure. So because of because in Century Mills, we only have 1 acre instead of the normal 2 that you have as a minimum in Bolton.
Okay.
We have a lot less land than normally it would, and our house, to meet the side offsets, had to be pushed way to the back of the lot. So we have a relatively narrow or not deep backyard. Mm-hmm. And we have 2 little kids, and we want to try and keep the pool as far away from the basement sliders as possible. So there's a buffer there that we can fence in.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to do that would be to be within 10 feet of the lot line at the rear of the property instead of 20.
And that's for the pool. And how about for the shed?
The shed is similar issue because of the way the backyard is laid out. There's not really any place else to put a shed.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the next page. Okay, so if you could just walk through we have to, as a board, be able to show that these 4 conditions are met in order to grant a variance. So
sure.
Do you just want to walk through this with us?
Sure. So the other issue, as I'm sure you're all aware, Bolton definitely has a lot of ledge, and we have a particularly large amount back here.
Uh-huh.
Our builder who originally put up the house, we'd done a small renovation, so he had to do take off the topsoil out back, and basically it's a foot below the earth is basically a solid sheet of rock. The closer you get to the house, the further away from the house you go, the more the ledge drops off. So there's the cost issue there. It's also flatter towards the back of the lot. I'm trying to find where we are here. So there would be a substantial cost savings because it reduces the amount of ledge that has to be removed. Again, going back to the safety issue, because there's so little room in the backyard. If we stay 20 feet off the back offset, you're basically walking out the door into the pool. And with little kids, we're just very concerned about that. So we really need to have a buffer there for safety's sake. There's no encroachment on neighbors. We don't abut conservation land at the back. There's actually a drainage swale that separates our land from the conservation land. No trees would have to come down to put the pool there. It's really just the ideal location.
Okay. No. Right, and then that fourth one, without I think you talked about that, about the desirable location. The neighbors have supported the application.
Yes.
So, Valerie, could you show us the plan so we can get an idea of the location? There you go. All right. So where is the shed on this property? Where it's proposed?
So it would be proposed at basically the back end of the pool on the left side of the lot, at the base of so the driveway is, so I have a walkout basement. So at the bottom of the hill that abuts the driveway is where the shed would be, at the back portion of the lot.
There we go.
Okay, good. So right now, the proposed, I see it, perfect, because on that other drawing, I could never really see where it was going to be.
Yeah. And he has the pool backwards on this plan, but it's the same distance away from the lot line.
When you say backward, just the shape of it is in the wrong position, or is it?
Yeah, you basically have to rotate it 180 degrees.
Okay. All right.
The setback remains the same.
Back to
Yes.
the same, right? Okay.
In the open space, that's not another lot. That's not someone else's property.
Nope. So there's conservation land between us and the houses on the other road behind us, and between us and the conservation land, there's a drainage swale as well. So we don't even abut the conservation land technically.
Okay.
So there's no.
Can you explain again the hardship? It seems like there's a lot of room there between the house and the pool. Why can't it be closer?
So looking on here, it makes it look like it's further away, but in reality, it's actually quite close. If you go back to the other picture, it's a lot easier to see. So what you don't see is the sloping topography of the back lot.
And if you do flip the screen, I think you mentioned that the closer to the house, the ledge is more prominent closer to the surface, and as you get further away.
Correct. As you move away from the house, the ledge starts to drop off. At the edge of the house, it's barely 12 inches below the ground.
Right, okay. So, and then you have that safety feature potentially. If it's too close to the house, if you had to deal through all that ledge and whatnot, which you mentioned, it's a significant cost to it, but it would still put it close to the home where you're, somewhat concerned with safety of being too close to the house.
Right.
Okay.
Just one question I had. Have you approached Conservation Commission to see if they have any issues, since it's abutting conservation land? I just wanted to bring it up so it doesn't come up later.
That was a question I was going to ask.
No, I haven't. I didn't realize we needed to do that because, as I said, there's a buffer between us and the conservation land. We don't own up to the conservation land.
Yeah, you may not. I just thought I'd ask the question now rather than later. That's-
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a consideration. So no,
Valerie, does the conservation land, is it in a butter? I mean,
Yes, so,
or was the town then
The-
notified? How does that work?
the,
Mhm.
right, the Concom would have gotten the public hearing notice.
Mhm.
Though I have not reached out directly to Rebecca to ask specifically.
Mhm.
I mean, it would be interesting to think about what what buffers there might be if there are wetlands back here. They would need to be aware, but that can be done. I mean, that can be discussed, after we're outside of this process. So even if the board, were to grant a variance, the application would still be reviewed by other town departments ahead of getting the building permit.
Okay.
Valerie, one question I have is, just because I can't read it, but what's the distance between the house and the property line there on the other side of the pool? Is that 60?
64.
64?
right
Okay. Yeah, that line there. Yeah.
Yeah, 64.
Okay.
And is this a home here on lot 54B?
Yeah, there is a home, but the back of his house is basically a little bit in front of my house. So he's nowhere near toward the back of the lot.
So, which abutters did we get letters, or did the applicant get letters in support of the project?
From the neighbors on either side of me.
So 52A and 54B,
Correct.
for both of them? Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have plans for both the shed and the pool, so that those sizes or those dimensions aren't going to fluctuate?
Yes, I do. Well, the shed is, I haven't actually put the order through yet because I didn't want to do it until we'd gone through this process. But yes, the pool dimensions aren't changing. Those are exact. And we sent the pool plans with all the detailed elevations and everything to the surveyor to put this plan together.
And that shed size would just stay the same, 12 by 16.
Yeah.
So,
Can we take a look at the other photo again now?
yep.
I don't know if this is a silly question, but I can understand an issue with the ledge for the swimming pool, but why is it that the shed can't go somewhere else?
So basically, the only place to put a shed would be to put it right in the middle of the pool and the swing set, which would chew up the rest of my grass in the backyard. Or I would have to clear cut the trees at the other end of the property, which would also be difficult to fit it in because it goes down at such a steep angle. It's basically a pie at that end, or a piece of pie looking thing. And if you maintain the 20
I guess it's difficult because you can't see the topography on the picture. That's all.
Yes. Yeah, and to the left side of the picture, that's all a hill. The only spot it will fit is where the surveyor put it on the plan.
This picture here, where approximately is the shed gonna be? I mean,
So it'd be just off the back left of the pool. You're right there.
oh, right here, okay, we're back up to. And there's limited clearing there. I mean, there's so much green on it, I can't tell, but so on the right side, as Andy's point is that is that just, it's all trees or all,
Looks like a banking or something.
you know?
So the banking is at the, if you're looking at the picture, it's bottom left. Where the trees are, there's really, again, you can't tell from here because the shadows look like trees, but the
Mhm.
trees are only at the back of the lot line. There's nothing in between the pool and see where he drew in that like a rock boundary edge there.
Mhm.
So you can see the lot line in green, the green dotted lot line across the middle of the page there.
Okay.
That's all flat and there's no trees to that side of the pool.
So how old are your kids? Or just a question, I'm just trying to think about. So
1.5 and 3.5.
Okay, so it'd be good. Because is there any way to, I don't, move at all some of the structure around the playground area such that the shed could be put in somewhere over that side where it would be essentially within zoning? So the issue we have generally with the zoning and variance is if there's a spot on the property that the structure such like a shed can be put in without the need of a variance, then that would be the preference. So
I don't believe so. If you look at the
it's hard for me to tell with all the, I can't tell if it's like all trees there where you'd have to, they say click, so.
yes, it's all trees. And if you, again, you can't tell from the picture very well, but that swing set is large and heavy. I'm not even sure that it could be moved. And if you look at if you go back to the plan the surveyor provided, you can see the way the lot line runs down there. And it's just to maintain anywhere near, you know, I don't know, even 5 feet would be difficult to do because of the way the lot line runs.
Right. Any other questions?
So the size of the shed is set?
Yeah.
Is there a chance it might be enlarged?
No, definitely not enlarged.
Okay.
Right now, it's under 200 square feet, so.
Hmm.
We were to, motion to grant the request, we could condition that, the pool the pool dimensions and the shed dimensions will not exceed what currently proposed in the application.
Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions.
Okay. And
West, to take a look at the letters from the,
before we put, so
Yeah,
Valerie,
letters.
to the point on the conservation, so would it be recommended that we would put a condition that they would have to get approval from conservation, or is it just we would not have to put that condition in the application,
I see no reason why you wouldn't, just putting a condition saying in case, if this were, within the buffer zone, then, a notice of intent or discussion with the Conservation Commission would be needed. I think it's always good to include it. I mean, we always hope that departments can catch things, but just in case.
right, we're always sensitive to, trying to, craft a decision and then have it sort of butt against, we don't want to create a problem where the boards are in contention and unlike a 40B where we sort of, stand in for all the boards, we don't want to, go outside that responsibility if they should have an application review on the pool.
That's a
Because
good point.
The nature of the process or the various.
That's a good point.
Mhm. All right. So this was this was one of the residents, butters that on, was this, which side, does it matter, or 9 circle, side of circle. So this mentions that we're aware of the location in the request for Bob and Jessica Gallagher's pool and have no problem with its location. We're in favor of the variance request. Were these abutters also made aware of the fact that the shed was also going to be part of the variance request?
Yes, I think he forgot to put it in, but the letter from John Balowitz mentions specifically the shed.
Is either property closer to where that would be?
Balowitz is the one that's very close to the shed.
Would be close to the shed. Okay, so that's there. Yeah. So on this one, they identified their name as in location as an abutter. They reached out to me as a courtesy regarding 2 variances. They're asking the town to approve with respect to distance from the back property line for their lot and the lot line between our 2 properties. For first variance for the pool to install 10 feet from the back property line instead of 20. The second is install a shed within 5 feet of property line of our 2 houses. It's my understanding the request for the pool variance in no way affects the abutters as the property line in question borders a drainage easement and conservation land beyond that. As such, I see no reason this request would not be acceptable. We as the abutters have no objection to the request and support the approval of the variance in question. We also have no objection with the location of the shed being on or within 5 feet of the shared lot line and support the approval of that variance as well. Okay. So if we have anyone have any last questions or comments?
Nope, I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Andy?
No, I have nothing other than just asking if any of the other people who are present, observers, want to comment.
Right, open it up for any public activity that have board comments. So, let's see, I see a chat. I don't know if that's what, that's okay. So, Valerie, can you tell if there's any public in attendance at the hearing where we want to ask if anyone had any questions or comments?
I don't think so. I believe the others who are in attendance right now are to be considered for an associate member position. So they're later on in the agenda.
Okay.
And I haven't heard any concern from abutters on this project.
So if no one has any questions or if the applicant doesn't have any last minute comments about the application, then we would motion to close the public hearing portion of this.
Sure, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
The public hearing portion, okay.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion to close the public hearing portion and seconded by Kay. So Val, I think with the Zoom process, we have to do a voice vote, roll
Yes.
call.
Yes, roll call vote. Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Andy Kishitz,
Yes.
Brad Reed,
Yes,
Kay Stoner,
Yes.
and Gerard Ahern.
Yes,
All right,
okay.
motion passes 5-0.
The motion, okay, and then, so then we have to as we said, if in dealing with the application, if we were to vote on one way or the other to approve the variance requests, I guess we just want to be sure we consider the conditions that would be included to include the dimensions of the pool and the dimensions of the shed as presented. Remain consistent and not altered materially. And then probably the condition that they the decision will be contingent upon review of by the Conservation Commission to confirm no issues with any type of setback to the conservation land that was mentioned in the application. Anyone else have any potential other conditions?
I think that would be it.
What was that?
I said, I think that would be it.
Mhm.
So do we need a motion or?
So Valerie, is it, can we, if we were to have a motion, would it be, could it be one motion to accept both? Or do we have to do a separate motion for each? Recommended wise.
I think you would
muted?
need it.
Sorry, sometimes the sound on this computer goes out. Did you mean a separate motion for the pool and for the shed, or for the conditions?
No, for the pool and shed.
You could just do it in one.
Okay.
Yep.
Does someone have a motion to first to entertain?
I will make a motion to recommend the approval of the variance for the location of the pool and the shed per plans presented, and that conservation is on board or has no issues with the plan as presented.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Do I need to follow up with conservation?
Well, first we have to get a second, and then we have to vote on it. And then,
Oh, I'll second that.
okay.
Roll call vote. Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Andy Kishitz,
Yes.
Brad Reed,
Yes.
Kate Stoner,
Yes.
Gerard Ahern.
Yes. Yes. So
Great.
the motion passes. So Val, you want to just explain to the applicant the process for, the decision, the timeframe to make the decision, and then the timeframe where there's an appeal process.
Sure, and
And
perhaps
Mr. Chairman, can I ask something? Does the actual application actually identify the shed? It seems to be only a variance for the pool.
No, in the amended application, they did reference the shed and
yes, we had the applicant.
So the cover page that says application for hearing, that doesn't need to be amended in any way? Or just a supplemental?
I just had them
paperwork.
do this. I had them just do the supplemental paperwork. I felt that because the public hearing notice did include both the shed and the pool, that it was sufficient.
Okay. I just wanted to verify that because I know the first two pages don't mention the shed.
when I first read through the first the first process documentation, like called that out, and Valley was able to determine that just getting the amended application to confirm both parts in it would be sufficient. So,
Thank you.
good question, though, Andy.
So from here, and I know that various ZBAs have different preferences for how this is done. I believe I would be creating the decision documents, and then what's typical for me. So correct me if I'm wrong, Gerard, is to have another meeting of the ZBA to review that decision document and approve it. Do you typically do that?
So what
We generally allow the planner to take care of it and for Gerard to review it and sign on our behalf.
That's what we had in place with Erica, that we would pass the minute you would create the document, you would route it to the board for comment. The board members individually would respond back to you. We don't respond back as a whole board amongst, because we want to avoid having sort of conversations in a quorum. So anyone would send you back their comment if they had any, and then if you incorporate those and then send out a final version. And then with that, we've had in the past on a standing vote that allowed myself to sign on behalf of the board. So that would work, but just for the applicant's time frame, the decision would have to be done within how many days, and then the appeal period would be how many days before they could record it.
Right. So once once that decision is signed by the chair, it will be submitted to the town clerk, where there'll be a 20-day appeal period. At which point, if there are no complaints or concerns by abutters, you would then be responsible for getting the document recorded.
In that time frame, there would also be where the board of health, the conservation would have the opportunity to review it and express any concerns at that point.
Yes, they would. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yes, they'll get a copy of the decision as well.
Right. Okay. So, any other questions from? We'll move on to the next item. We'll close this hearing and then.
All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
All right, perfect.
Go back to the agenda here.
Great. So if you want to do the meeting minutes next, that's fine. You distributed a set earlier today. I know I run through them and sent you back sort of a PDF with my signature on them, just to say I acknowledge that I read them. Fine to me, but if you want to bring them up and solicit the input from the other board members, then we can vote on those after they got a chance to acknowledge they've read them.
Sure. I will, let me find them.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. So these are the minutes for the last hearing we had for variance that dealt with a barn that was previously installed on the property without having, they had not gone through the building permit process. So they were, the property owner was looking to potentially sell the property, and became aware that the barn that they placed was not in compliance with the zoning. So we came to get a variance, which the facts are all in these minutes, and it was a unanimous approval.
I have no issues with the meeting minutes.
I looked them over. They look pretty good. Yeah, no
Yep.
problem.
I'm okay with them as well.
3,
Yep, I'm good.
you're good, Kate, 4? Is that all of us?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the minutes.
What's the date on here? It was December 21st.
Yes, it was.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our December 21st meeting.
Second.
Is that Andy?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thanks, Andy.
Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Andy Kishitz,
Yes.
Brad Reed,
Yes,
Kay Stoner,
Yes,
and Gerard Ahern.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Thanks. And the,
Right.
okay, so then the last meeting agenda item is we had at least one, I think there may be a second, but I'm not sure. We had a candidate come to our attention that was wanted to be considered for the board. So you want to introduce the candidate, Valerie, and then we can, anyone has any questions, they can ask away. I had some email communication, so I think we have a good background of where the person's coming from, but I don't know if the rest of the board has stuff.
Sure. We do have two. So we have both Kevin Erickson and then also Liz Hutchins.
Mhm.
And I believe they are both present here. Kevin is available through phone. So he's at the phone number there.
So Liz, I've had some background, at least with the email with Liz, so maybe Liz wants to give us a little explanation of her background and what she, there she is.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, you can. Hi, Liz.
Perfect. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Liz Hutchins. So I have been in Bolton for about 18 months. I live on Moderator Way off of 85 near the Hudson line. I lived in Lancaster for about 7 years before we moved to Bolton. I have 2 kids. One of them is in the school system this year, and my second child will be going into the school system next year. I'm never moving again. So I'm going to live in Bolton for life. And we have really been able to get involved through the town, through the development of our development. We moved in, we were probably the 3rd or 4th house to move in. So we were sort of here for like all the live stuff that's been going on over the development. And it's been really, really interesting. I've been talking to the planning board a lot and really been getting involved in things. And it kind of sparked my interest to get involved in the ZBA. And I saw that there was an open associate position there. So that's why I was kind of interested. My background, I'm the associate director of quality assurance for a small pharmaceutical company in Lexington. So basically my day-to-day is managing regulatory compliance. So I have a ton of experience reading rules and regulations and then applying those, justifying any deviations, that type of stuff. So obviously, ZBA kind of seems to fit into my niche of things that I'm interested in. So that's kind of a high level overview, but I'm happy to kind of answer any questions or talk a little bit more about my background if anyone's interested.
I think that's real helpful. But from my perspective, and I said, you exchanged a nice email that gave me some details as well. So That
Yeah.
that was helpful.
Yeah.
Anyone else from the board have any questions or any comments?
I do. I have questions.
Okay, always.
So, I always have questions. Yeah, so like the ZBA, why the ZBA? I mean, I know it's very glamorous and everybody wants to be on it. But you know, what is it that particularly that appeals to you about the ZBA?
So I know the ZBA is responsible for working through the variances, which you guys just kind of talked through. So
Yeah.
I obviously have lived firsthand with dealing with some of those variations.
Yeah.
And the implication and the downstream of sort of those decisions. And again, that's
Mm.
a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis is analyze both the upstream and downstream from a given decision point. So I feel like the ZBA tends to be in a lot of those decisions. So that's something I would like to get involved with.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'm never moving from Bolton, so
We don't hold that. We don't hold that against you.
Yeah.
You can never move, but it does.
So I definitely want to be involved, and I want my voice to be heard. And so yeah, that's kind of where I actually had also applied for design review board at the time when I was applying for whatever. And I spoke to the planning board for a while. And as I mentioned, we've been in close contact with everything going on in our neighborhood. So in the conversation, all of them were like, yeah, they're like, I feel like you should go ZBA.
Yeah.
I feel that too. I don't think DRB was a good fit for me at all. So in talking to them, it definitely seemed to fit with what my interests are and sort of where my experience comes from.
Yeah. Is there any affordable housing? Is there any 40B activity in your development?
Yep, we have 140B. Well, let me explain. We have 140 house, and there's 2 units within that.
Okay.
Home. So we've kind of seen that evolve as well. There's one person who moved in recently, and then I think the second unit is either pending or still available for.
Yeah, they converted the old farmhouse into a 40B, so there's 2 units.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Why did they not have to come in front of our group for that?
Technically was not a 40B. It was just the affordable component of that housing development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they deeded that unit as affordable?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they have to set aside, what is the zoning requirement now? Is it 10% of
I think it's
any new
10%.
development?
Yeah.
So
Or 10% of the total town inventory, I think.
Is this, sorry, what was the question?
I know the ZBA, no, I mean, the planning board changed the zoning regs for new developments few years back, and they added a affordable component to it. They either have to pay a fee in lieu or have X number of units in proportion to the development. I think it's 10%, but I'm not sure.
1 of every 8.
1 of our 8. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not technically a 40B because 40B, opens up to a different.
Not a 40B.
statute, right? But it's an affordable, contribution to the town. Yeah. Good. All right. And how about the other candidate? If no one has any other questions for Liz, let's have the other candidate speak a little bit about his background.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. My name's Kevin Erickson. I've lived in Bolton since 2014 with my wife and 3 children. We have 2 kids in the school system now, and 1 who will be starting kindergarten in the fall. And we love it here. We live on Long Hill Road. I am an attorney. I started my career with a small law firm in Westford, where my primary focus was zoning, permitting, and land use. So I've been very much a part of the planning board, ZBA process, Conservation Commission hearings for numerous different developments and projects. I worked on Cornerstone Square in Westford, Massachusetts when I first started in 2014. I've worked on multiple comprehensive permit applications in Kingsborough, Falmouth, and Rentham, Massachusetts, and I've been a part of residential developments of all sorts, as well as mixed-use developments. I permitted the project, the Apex Entertainment project in Marlborough for the company that I'm in-house counsel for right now. So I've always been very interested in zoning and permitting, made a career out of it, and now I'd like to do it in my own town and maybe on the other side of the table.
So Valerie, board composition wise, does it matter how many associates we could have? I mean, I think we have, let's say we have one right now, Gabriella. The openers.
That was going to be my question, Gerard, is there a process for expanding the number of standing members, given how glamorous this position has become? I'd hate to see interested people sitting on the sidelines observing when they could be participating in our votes, and also the more people we have on it, the less critical it is when somebody misses and we don't have to go to a unanimous vote. Do you know what the process is to change the standing number of members?
So right now it's five voting members with 2 associates. You know, it's always, I feel like every town has a different composition. Some towns have a lot of associates on standby. So I feel like, and I could be wrong here, but I believe that could be something that the ZBA could request of the selectmen. So your recommendation for appointment would go to the selectmen for their final approval. And part of the question there could be if we could open it up to having more associates.
And I could be wrong. I thought that the number 5 was based on like a statutory mass general law for the size of the board, the zoning board. So they may be able to, they may not be able to say yes, go and make, extend the Supreme Court, but we, as I say, if we could have 3 associates where we then have a pool where I know we had some issues, potential issues with some 40Bs coming down the road where one or more board members might potentially have a perceived conflict of interest or not if they were friends or had some relationship with one of the applicants or something. So certainly the 40, if someone were to have to drop off and then throughout the hearing process other things happen and if people can't make something, we'd have a good body of people. So it'd be nice to have a bench. If we could have 3 associates, then we could certainly make a recommendation to accept both interested applicants for the board. I'd certainly have no problem doing that. If the other members felt the same way, then we could ask, we could do a vote to recommend both interested parties and see what the selectmen does as far as say, okay, we'll assign both, or if they believe that if they have to follow up with Don Lowe or something as far as the town administrator say what the procedure is, but we could at least make the recommendation that we'd like to consider both.
Yeah, I think we should explore the possibilities at this point of, whatever is required to expand things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if the applicants want to attend any future, like while that decision is still pending, if it's a while, if they want to just attend the ZBA meetings to have a presence, that might be worthwhile too. Not that I want to encroach on your time before you're absolutely obligated, but
I mean, the pay's so good, I think everyone ought to be involved.
I know, right? Everybody wants to be here. Yeah, it's the
Absolutely.
place.
got all these smart people that want to come on board as well. Gerard, you always told us a story of Jackie Smith walking to the audience and taking anyone that had a pulse.
I wouldn't say anyone, it was me. It was one person. Yeah, right.
That's what you get for breathing, Gerard.
At that point in time, that was the case. But now, yeah, right. No, but particularly, like you say, the talents that the people have that spoke. So we want interested people that are want to have a field commitment to the town, and so you know, the Liz's background in you know, compliance certainly dovetails with our board, and then you know, the contributions that Kevin would potentially make. Yeah, certainly it's almost like he's designed to be a ZBA member, given his background in some of the projects he's been on in the legal aspect. So we could certainly only benefit from having good resources like that. So let's have Valerie bring those names to the selectmen and you know, at a minimum, see if it's allowed to have 3 associates, and then and if that is the case, that's fine. And you can also ask at the same time, is there provision in the mass general to expand it, the regular bullet size? I'm not sure that there is, but let them tell us that, even if they have to reach out to Don Lowe or something.
That sounds good.
Okay. So do we need a formal vote on that, or is it, I think it's just a recommendation, so I don't know if it's a formal vote or not.
I believe I was looking through the last minutes, and at our last recommendation, the ZBA did have a vote on the recommendation of appointment.
Okay, so. Someone.
I could make a motion to, I guess, accept 2 new members as associate members on the board.
To recommend to the board, to the selectmen to
Yeah, maybe recommend the selectmen to approve 2 new
right.
associate members onto the board.
Would those be 2 separate things? Is it point of order?
Well, it'd be just a motion to approve Liz Hutchins and Kevin Erickson.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So do I need to amend that? So make
Yeah.
a motion to approve Liz Hutchins and Kevin Erickson onto the board.
Yep.
Second.
Okay. Voice vote there, Valerie?
All right, a roll call vote. Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Andy Kishitz,
Yes.
Brad Reed,
Yes,
Kay Stoner,
Yes.
and Jared Ahern.
Yes. All right, perfect. So that,
Thank you very much for your time.
thank you for your interest.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
guys. Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.
Have a great night.
Yeah, you
Hey,
too.
have a good night.
Bye.
You're really good enough some company. If that worked out.
All right.
A nice pool of people. So I guess.
Jackie would be pleased.
Jackie's probably up doing a dance up there.
Yeah,
You know, speaking of Jackie, I heard lead passed.
he did. Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, lead passed.
Like
when was that?
It was, hold
couple
on.
months, was it?
No, it was a while. It was a little bit longer than you would think.
Okay.
Probably, if you give me a second, I know the date.
It was funny, I ran